That shot, and we know that was just minutes before sheriff's deputies at least believe that Kendrick went into the mat, and that's where he died. So a very short time between the time that image was taken and when the next class came in, a class that says they didn't hear or see or smell or notice anything out of the ordinary. A very small window.
Victor Blackwell, thank you so much. I want to continue the conversation with Tanya Miller, defense attorney, and Danny Savalos, CNN legal analyst and defense attorney. And Tanya, let me just begin with you here. I mean, huge news with regard to the U.S. attorney's decision to investigate this. Your reaction?
You know, honestly, Brooke, when I heard the announcement of the U.S. attorney, I was somewhat surprised. And I was surprised because we have not yet heard whether or not there is a federal nexus to what happened in that gym. We know that something bad happened. We suspect it was murder. But even if it's a murder, it doesn't necessarily mean that the feds would have jurisdiction. So the fact that the feds are opening an investigation and announcing it to the public is extremely significant. And it makes me really happy and excited because I believe that finally this family will get the answers that they deserve.
Danny, though, it has been months and months since Kendrick Johnson's death, and you know, you hear from critics, they say the crime scene evidence it was bungled. I mean, is it too late to really be able to put these pieces together?
It's never too late. Murder does not have a statute of limitations, so we understand that sometimes murders take a long time to investigate and prosecute. But in this case, and echoing on what was just said, look, the local government concluded that there was not even a homicide. For the federal government, remember, they have limited jurisdiction. They cannot simply investigate or reinvestigate a murder. That is the state's province. However, if there is a murder, they must additionally prove that it was motivated by a racial animus. I think that's going to be very difficult, and that's why I, too, was very surprised that the federal government decided to investigate. Be mindful, that is not a promise to prosecute anybody. It is only the promise of an investigation.
Okay, and then what about, in addition to the promise to investigate, this coroner's inquest, Tanya? The family lawyer has now filed this coroner's inquest. What is that?
Well, essentially, a coroner's inquest is like a miniature trial to determine the cause and manner of death. Literally, you have the coroner presenting evidence to a jury, focusing on what happened to this victim physically, what the toxicology tests say, what the investigators say, all with an eye towards deciding what caused the death and whether or not it was a homicide, an accident, or some other unexplained reason.
But describe, Danny, then the challenge that must be posed there, because when this teenager's body was exhumed for the second independent autopsy, it was discovered he was missing half his organs. He was stuffed with newspaper.
Well, I have to say that is a case of first impression, at least for me. But on my review of some of the practices of different funeral directors, that could potentially explain it. But candidly, I mean, if it's alleged that there's some grand conspiracy, remember the organs were removed and he was stuffed with newspaper. If the allegation or the belief is that somehow the government or whoever allegedly covered this up filled him with newspaper, that starts to become a very large web conspiracy. And I have to believe there's going to be some evidence if that's what's being alleged. Or it could just be some misconduct at the funeral home. That is just perplexing. I don't have any sort of conclusion about that yet.
Okay. Danny Savalos and Tanya Miller, thank you both very much. The pressure on health and